let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you may be on the globe today. Welcome to this information session on the STAARS Plus program. This stands for Structural Transformation of African and Asian Agricultural and Rural Spaces. My name is David Shirley. I'm professor of Ag, Food, and Resource Economics at Michigan State University, and I coordinate the overall program, PRCI, which is the Innovation Lab funded by USAID, the Innovation Lab for Food Security Policy Research, Capacity, and Influence. And within PRCI, the STAARS Plus program, run by Chris Barrett with help from Kelsey Schreiber at Cornell University, is a key component of what PRCI does in the research space. So we're just going to take a few minutes. I'll give a few overview remarks about PRCI and the STAARS program, and then I'll be turning it over to Professor Barrett from Cornell. We could go to the next slide, Kelsey. So just a little bit of overview then, as I said, on PRCI. We are very much focused on building institutional capacity in Africa, in Asia, to do applied, collaborative, policy-relevant research, and then to bring that research, the research finding, the research perspectives to bear on policy thinking and policy decisions. So it's to do applied, collaborative policy research with policy impact. That's what we're looking to do, and to build the institutional capacity to do that. So we do that in three broad ways. We focus directly on the institution and the institutional leadership with leadership training and institutional strategic planning around the goals of the organization, okay? You all would not necessarily be involved in that portion of PRCI, but it is an important part of what we do. We also then invest in building research capacity, and we do that through a mentoring, collaborative research process combined with technical training, all right? And then as part of that focus on research, we also work with the people doing research under PRCI to think systematically about how to bring the research to bear on policy issues, to hopefully have some policy impact, or at least impact on the way that policymakers think about these issues. So how to build policy impact strategies into the research that you do. So the program that we're running now and that we're talking to you about, the STAARS Plus program, is based on competitive awards to those of you who are institutionally affiliated. You're affiliated either with a university department or a policy think tank or a government agency that does policy research. You're institutionally affiliated and doing research that's of relevance to the kinds of topics that we address. And you're in a low or a lower middle income country. Those are the basic eligibility criteria. Next slide. Thank you, Kelsey. And so the areas that we work on are, broadly speaking, about inclusive ag and rural transformation. So any topic that you have that relates to processes of how to promote inclusive agricultural and rural transformation. We also are very interested in research on healthy food systems that are healthy for the environment and healthy for people, right? And we're very focused on issues of resilience to all kinds of shocks, be they shocks from climate change, shocks from local conflicts, shocks from the Ukraine war, resilience capacity, and better understanding the determinants of that and the policy levers that can be used to enhance it. So those are our research areas, and these teams, and you hope to be, that's why you're here, a team that's selected under this process. You'll be competitively selected after a review of your proposals, and you'll be paired with a mentor and co-mentor from Cornell or IFPRI or Michigan State University, right? You will then jointly author a paper. You all will be authors along with your mentors and co-mentors, right, of a paper submitted for peer review that fits within these research priorities that we just talked about. And you'll do this over the course of 18 months from the time you're selected until the time of your fellowship ends. Those are the basic ideas and approaches. And again, the reason that we have STAARS Plus, which is working in the end with individuals or teams of individuals, the reason we have this in PRCI, which is focused on institutional capacity building, is that we believe that if you put in these proposals, if you win these proposals, and if your supervisors in your organization understand the value of it, right, and support you putting the not trivial, the significant amount of time that you'll have to put into this to produce a good paper, that's also going to contribute to the strength of the institution, right? So we're investing in you as part of your institution to strengthen the institution. So with that overview, I think I'm going to then step back and turn it over to Professor Chris Barrett of Cornell.
Hi, thanks very much, Dave, and thanks everyone for your interest in the STAARS Plus program. I'm Chris Barrett. I'm a professor at Cornell, and I'm the faculty director of the STAARS Plus program. I'll be followed by Kelsey Schreiber, who's the STAARS Plus program manager here at Cornell. We're really excited about this program. Right now, we happen to have several of the STAARS Plus teams from prior cohorts visiting Cornell, where we've just completed 2 days of very intensive seminars and intensive feedback workshops. And we are just about to start into a second round of those next week. So this is really top of mind for us right now. But we're equally excited about the prospect of welcoming the next cohort of teams, and hopefully you all will be able to put together very compelling proposals. Those proposals follow very specific rules. All of these details are on the program website, so you don't need to feverishly take down these notes. You can just consult the RFP, but I did want to underscore several crucial things. We very much welcome proposals from non-Anglophone countries, but the proposals do need to be in English. And the purpose for that is that most of the international literature in economics and agricultural economics, the peer-reviewed literature, is in English. And the reviewers who we will draw on, faculty at Michigan State and Cornell and researchers at IFPRI, are primarily English speakers. So it helps with comprehension and matching with prospective mentors. So your proposal has to be in English. Your proposal must be at least 2 researchers. This is not an individual program. We have a companion STAARS program for individual researchers. Those of you who don't have a set of teammates, you should look at that proposal. That RFP should come out in January. We're looking for teams of 2, maximum 3 researchers from 1 or more eligible policy research institutions. There are a set of priority institutions as part of PRCI. Again, those are listed explicitly on the RFP. You don't have to be from one of those institutions. We have selected and funded and supported teams that come from institutions outside the core PRCI network previously, and we're happy to do that again. But it is an institutional capacity building program, as Dave emphasized previously. So you do have to be able to make the case for how this helps to build institutional policy research capacity. There's a biodata form that has to be completed on each individual, and then sort of the usual things in a proposal, a title page, a concept proposal. And let me emphasize in that concept proposal, we do not fund new data collection. You are going to need to work with secondary data to which you already have access. And you want to be clear that you have access to those data. We will look for some evidence that this isn't just a desire that you will be able to acquire and use those data, but rather that you already have assured access to the data. They're either in your possession already and you have approval to use them for publishable research, or you already have an agreement with the data steward that you will have access to this research. So you need to explain the data you will use, the hypotheses you'll test, the core motivating questions and why they're relevant to policy in the low and middle income parts of sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia, as well as the methods you would use. We ask for copies of your CV, and crucially, because this is an institutional capacity building program, we look for a letter of support from the leader of or someone in the leadership team of your policy research institution, or if there is a partnership across two institutions, the leadership of each of them. And that letter needs to indicate not only that they think well of your proposal, because we will evaluate your proposal within our review process, but importantly, that they will commit to provide you, the team members, with adequate paid time to undertake your research. We will contribute time from experts at Cornell, MSU, IFPRI to help you advance your research. Your bosses need to commit time for you to be able to engage substantively and actively in that research as well. And that's what we're looking for from them, that they'll commit that you can spend some time from your regular paid assignment on this work, and that they will release you to come to the United States for what is typically a 3-week period visiting with your mentors for an intensive period of work on your research. Next slide, please. So the 5 main programs in the STAARS Plus program. So you make your application, we review it, we match you with a faculty mentor and a peer mentor, and we send you a congratulations email and introduce you to your mentor and peer mentor, and we begin. We will have first some virtual launch activities. People get to know each other, make sure we all understand the rules of engagement, the expectations, the timelines. But right from the beginning, we're really launching into the research project itself. So the whole program is built around the proposal you developed to put together a new, original, substantive, and policy relevant research paper that could pass peer review and publish in a well-recognized international journal. So from the beginning, you and your mentor and peer mentor will be working on that research project, and that will continue for the full 18 months of this project. The virtual launch activities early on are intended, as I said, for everybody to get to know each other and get to know one another's projects. That's an opportunity for, frankly, some redesign and recalibration of research projects based on feedback that comes from the broader community, the broader STAARS Plus community. Throughout your program, we will run virtual professional development trainings on a range of things. So much of participation in the international research network that publishes routinely in high-level peer-reviewed journals is based on an unwritten curriculum. It's based off of professional skills that aren't contained in textbooks and are commonly concentrated in places where there's a critical mass of people really actively engaged in high-level research, places like IFPRI and Michigan State and Cornell. And that critical mass is often not present in some of your institutions. So we seek to actively fill in gaps on effective grantsmanship, on how to do effective coding and ensuring the reproducibility of your research, on how to navigate the peer review process, which can be somewhat cryptic, on research ethics, et cetera. So we have a whole range of these professional development trainings that we run virtually, taught by experts, and you engage your community in that. Throughout all of those activities, you're building your network with not just your mentor and peer mentor, but with the other mentors and with the other teams. So that is one of the important values of the STAARS Plus program is you build a robust network of really outstanding scholars and people who are genuinely interested in the same things you're interested in. That network provides you with very valuable feedback on your work. We provide a couple of different moments in time, what we term intensive feedback workshops. The most valuable currency in the research community is substantive feedback on your work while you can still make use of that guidance, that constructive criticism to enhance your work. So we actively engage in doing that. You will get more feedback than you're used to getting if history is a guide, and that will significantly improve the quality of your work and accelerate you towards a higher level of publication possibility than you would typically have laboring on your own. So those feedback workshops are a really central piece of the STAARS Plus program. Finally, as your project matures and you have a complete manuscript and you're reasonably confident in your empirical results so that these could now inform discussions with policymakers and policy influencers, we work with you, in particular, our colleagues at IFPRI, Kristen Davis, based in South Africa, leads our R2P program, our Research to Policy program, helping the teams to translate their research into policy influencing outputs, whether it is a policy brief, it is a briefing, it's a video. She will work with you early in the process so that you're oriented that way from the beginning, but especially as you start to build towards the end where you have results ready to report, Kristen engages with you on this research to policy part of the program. Next slide, please. I think let me turn over to Kelsey Schreiber, who's the program manager for STAARS Plus here at Cornell.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Dave. Yeah, as Chris mentioned, I run the STAARS and the STAARS Plus program, so it's likely that throughout the application process, and if you receive a welcome email, you will be seeing and hearing a lot from me. So I am just going to step through what to expect in the application process and then the review and selection process. So we manage the review process here at Cornell, but we do use our colleagues at MSU and IFPRI to help us review applications. It's just managed by us here. We've switched to an online application form. This is different than our first two cohorts. We implemented this last year, and I think that it worked out well for folks, but we do also help provide a worksheet just in case the requirements of that application are not very easy to step through. There are multiple pages that require you to fill in information. So everything is summarized on this application worksheet that's available on the first page of the online application form, especially if you are trying to wrangle contact information, biodata information from two other colleagues. It can be useful to kind of collect all of that information before you need to go online to fill it in. As long as you are using the same web browser on the same computer, your application should save. But if you do anticipate stepping away from the application before you submit it, it might be useful to fill out the worksheet beforehand so you don't put in a lot of work and then have to resubmit it or re-enter the information again at a later time. As Chris mentioned as well, we do require you to provide a record or documentation that you have access to data if it's not publicly available. If it's an LSMS survey data, then you don't need to, show us the link to the LSMS page. You are more than welcome to, but if it's publicly available, you do not need to submit documentation. But if it is a private data set that you just have access to, then we do need to make sure that you have the rights to use that data in this specific proposed research. We have had instances in the past where because a researcher has worked on data in a prior project, they thought that they were going to be able to use it for the project that they proposed for their STAARS work, but that was not the case. So please make sure that if you are proposing a new use of data that you might already have access to, that the owners of that data are granting you access to use it in a new project. The deadline for submitting proposals is going to be October 16th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So then once your application has been submitted, it is going to be distributed to multiple reviewers at Cornell, MSU, or IFPRI. We do a process of collecting reviews, and then we present the applicants that have scored high on review to then our pool of mentors, again, from Cornell, MSU, and IFPRI. We want to make sure that you are being paired with mentors that have an equal interest in the work that you're doing and potential expertise in those areas so that it is a good match. At that stage, we're also going to reach out to you. So that is happening behind the scenes. You'll be notified if you've made it to this stage, because it'll be at that stage where I will reach out to administer a statistical analysis test, if you will, on either STAAAR or R. This is just a basic assessment of whether you can, wrangle data and do some quick summaries of a data set. You'll have about 48 hours to do it at your pace, and at least one team member in each group must complete this. We encourage more team members to do it, because the more team members that do it, the higher likelihood that someone will do, well on it. But I will send out all the instructions, and if you have questions about that, you can reach out to me. And then once we've passed that point and there's an interested mentor, you've completed our STAAAR or R, you have the choice of which software you'd like to use assessment. We'll at that point match you with a mentor. Sometimes we have co-mentors, or we will have a main mentor and a peer mentor. But we try to get every team at least 2 mentors. We plan to notify you by early December of our decisions. And then a look at our timeline this is a very broad timeline of the overall fellowship period. For more details on the actual activity dates, we have tentative dates for almost every activity that we will have throughout the program on the RFP website. So there's both one on at Cornell, and there's an MSU RFP page, and then directly in the PDF version of the RFP, you'll find a list of these dates. But like I said, applications October 16th are going to be due. By early December, we will have decisions. From December through February will be our launch of the program. I recognize that this sort of falls during a major time where people take time off of work during the holidays. We've tried to do our best to schedule things around what I expect to be the main times where people might not be available. But these will all be virtual events. And so there is an expectation, especially as we're trying to get to know the cohort and have meetings with your mentors to introduce one another and to get to know the other projects. We do expect that you attend these meetings, so make sure that they fit within your schedule, because these are pretty crucial to set the groundwork for the rest of the program. We will also have several of our trainings, our professional development trainings at this time. But again, take a look at the calendar to see when these dates are, so you can make sure that you're available to attend. We do expect to host this cohort at Cornell, IFPRI, and or MSU in April of next year. And then by March of the following year, so 2024 sounds like a long time away, but that is when the final deliverables will be expected. So this is both your research output and any of the research to policy deliverables that you've set out to accomplish as that part of the program. So with that, we are going to open it up to questions. There's a Q&A tool that you can go into and ask your questions. We'll try to do as many answers live as possible. And then also, if you have other questions that aren't answered during this period, you can go ahead and email us at STAARS with 3 A's _ plus stars.cornell.edu. So.
Okay, well, thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Chris. Do we have any more messages to send to the group? Again, we really appreciate your interest. We're excited to see your applications, and we'll be very excited to welcome the fourth cohort of STAARS Plus into PRCI. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Yes.
So we have a question in the Q&A from Sanjeev. How can we find the teammates if we have to go beyond country researchers? And then he follows up with, we can see diverse thematic areas. Do we have to cover all or one or different thematic areas? So two separate questions. Why don't we take those separately? To answer the second question first, Sanjeev, we are just describing the themes within which STAARS Plus programs can fit. You don't need to cover them all. Indeed, it would be infeasible to cover them all. You need to identify a compelling research topic that fits one of those themes. If it straddles a couple, that's okay, but be careful to propose a manageable research project, because we do look at the feasibility of the research project. As for the first question about how do you find teammates, again, this is an institutional capacity building program. So the most compelling proposals come from multiple early career researchers coming from the same institution, so that together we would help to build capacity at that institution. Or they come from institutions that readily partner together anyway, where there are collaborations that occur naturally. You know, Michigan State, Cornell, if Free Michigan State, those are collaborations that happen quite regularly. If we turn the tables and we were proposing projects from our side, those would be natural partners to look to. But then you need to make the case that this is strengthening the institutions, not just the individual researchers. So we strongly recommend prioritizing finding researchers with whom you could team who come from your own institution. Dave or Kelsey, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just echo that, Chris. We would definitely prefer people from the same institution. It will be on you to make the case for how it will strengthen the multiple institutions if you have people from multiple institutions, ideally one institution.
Nothing more from me.
Okay, we have a question from Sylvia. Sylvia asks, please clarify the scope of qualifying projects. Thanks. Please see the RFP, which defines the relevant thematic areas. You could also, if you wish, go on to the STAARS Plus website at Cornell University. Perhaps, Kelsey, you can pop the URL into the chat, please. And you can see some of the past projects, the papers that have emerged from those, if you want to look at what are some samples of prior work under the STAARS Plus program or its companion individual program. Then we have a couple of questions from Grace. Hi, my name is Tima, Malawian nationally, but currently a student in Australia. I was wondering if I am eligible to apply. Again, this is an institutional capacity building program. You are most welcome to apply if you have an institutional affiliation in one of the eligible countries. Malawi is certainly an eligible country, and the institution with which you're affiliated, Malawi, sees you as part of their group. They want you to be part of a team. We have had teams that included an individual who was doing doctoral studies outside their home country at the time of the STAARS Plus fellowship. That can be a little tricky to manage. So I encourage you to think carefully about the viability of coordinating with one another to be able to work together with US-based mentor and peer mentor, as well as your teammates in Malawi with you in Australia. That could be challenging, if only for time zone reasons. But there's nothing that precludes you from being able to apply as part of a team based in an institution in Malawi.
Chris, if I might add, I'll just emphasize the time zone aspect. We try our best to be inclusive and set a time that will work. But when we're trying to span Eastern time zone in the US and East African time, and also our fellows in India, and if you're in Australia, it will take a commitment on your part to tune into a lot of late meetings. So just make a note of that. Because a lot of times we will try to have our events starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time, which I know does not always mean the best time for those. And we've had a fellow in Japan as well. So just to take a note of that.
Yeah, just emphasize that. Be realistic about what you can do, because these live sessions are very important, and as Kelsey already said, but it pays to reiterate, you are expected to join those live sessions. Chris?
Yeah, the next question comes from, whoops, it just disappeared. There it is again, sorry. From Francoise, how many finalists will be selected for this cohort? We intend to have 4 teams selected in this next cohort for STAARS Plus. Now, I emphasize that our review process means that we have a larger number that we start trying to match with mentors. So there are quite a few finalist teams where we think the team members themselves have excellent qualifications. The proposal they put together shows considerable promise. We try to match those with mentors, but it is a matching process. So not all of those finalists get selected for the program. So there will be more finalists than 4 teams, but we expect to ultimately select 4 teams. If you have questions about that, you can see on that STAARS page at Cornell, there's also a link to a recent article that Kelsey is the lead author on, that explains the details of the STAARS and STAARS Plus programs and the selection processes. So if you're curious about that, you can go there. Francois also asks whether there's a gender requirement for team composition. There's not a gender requirement, but we very much welcome and encourage teams that include underrepresented groups, which is certainly inclusive of women and other represented groups, underrepresented groups. So both LGBTQ and indigenous population members. So no requirements, but strong encouragement to apply with a team that shows broader representation.
Okay, Chris, did you want to take the question from Pamela?
Sorry, yes, I see that. So Pamela from the University of Pretoria, I wanted to ask if I'm working on a project that is based on food products that can be easily obtained online and in the shops, is it still mandatory to provide the links for the data? The other question is that, does the program offer training on microsimulation in R if I'm interested in that methodology to answer one of our group's objectives? So the key about data is you need to be able to convince the reviewers and the program managers that you indeed have access to the data. If you can demonstrate that very easily in your proposal, you're set. You don't have to have the data in hand. You just have to be able to convince us that you can easily obtain it and you have the right to use it in your research. We don't offer courses, so we will not have a course in microsimulation in R. We run a screening test, as Kelsey indicated, to ensure people have basic skills in Stata or R already, because we simply will not have the time or the resources to run training programs for people who don't yet have at least basic skills. Now, once you are matched with a mentor and peer mentor, a number of times the peer mentors in particular will engage in one-on-one training with their fellows to help them to develop skill, a technical skill that they need that they didn't have, that can be easily imparted through close collaboration. But there will not be a separate course.
And there's now another question from Sanjeev about their data as well.
Yeah, the key is that you have data. So Sanjeev, whether you are using the official data that come from the government, whichever ministry or agency it might be, or data that comes from your own think tank, any such data is viable as long as you can convince the reviewers that it is of high quality and well suited to answer the policy relevant question that you pose.
So for example, just to expound on that, if it's data that your think tank collected, then providing the questionnaire and walking through the kinds of variables that you would be able to generate out of that data, that will be very important, so that we know that you do in fact are able to generate the kinds of variables that you need, speaking to sample size and so on and so forth, to generate indicate the representativeness of the data, the coverage, topical coverage of the data, and some indications of your organization's capacity to do the kind of supervision necessary to ensure quality of data. So there will be a slightly higher burden on you, but certainly you can address it. But if it's your own data from your organization compared to nationally representative data, which is more broadly known already. But we have had teams use their own center's data, have qualified, have won the award, and have worked as STAARS fellows. So
I think that I would also add that 18 months sounds like a long time, but that's starting at the release of our RFP. So it's also a timing issue where there isn't a lot of time to collect data off of different websites. So if you want to maximize your time, a lot of times, your mentors are going to be ready to start working on the proposal right away. So we don't have a ton of time for you to be collecting different data sources online. So showing that you already have access to those data sources, if you've already collected things from public repositories, and are prepared to start on the project right away, I think is also is a benefit.
okay, and then we have another question from Francois for the state and our capacity checking. Are we able to choose one among them to do the test? I believe the answer to that is yes, Kelsey and Chris, correct?
Yes, you just need, it's an individual assessment, although if you are working we prefer that you submit your own assessment and choose one, either STAAAR or R. And then if a different colleague of yours wants to complete it, say you want to complete it in STAAAR, but they complete it in R, that's fine.
Yeah, the key here is we want to make sure that there is at least one member of the team who has adequate facility in R or STAAAR. It is not a test to ensure that every member of the team has that capacity. So I think that answers the question from the anonymous attendee as well. Grace asks whether collaborators are encouraged from the same institution, but limited to the same institution only. No, we have selected teams that bridged institutions. That is certainly feasible. Again, the bar is a little higher in that case because we are focused on institutional capacity building. We want to see clear indication that this is not just a program for 2 individuals or 3 individuals, but rather it is a program that helps the institution more broadly in addition to the individual fellows. So we do select teams that span multiple institutions. Just you have to make it really clear how this will contribute to institutional capacity building. And we will require letters from each of your institution's leadership in that case. It's not just one letter from one institution, it's a letter from each institution that employs a member of the proposed team.
Okay, I don't see any more questions being posted.
Yeah, I think
any-
we have all the links copied over to the full group as well. To the websites and then also to the article that Chris mentioned, if you are interested in looking at those.
And we might just underscore again that the email address, if you have questions that come up later, is STAARS, STAAARS _plus, PLUS at cornell.edu. Thank you. Melissa has just posted that into the chat.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We look forward to hearing from you.
And Dave and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but the recording of this will post to the PRCI site soon, so that if you have colleagues, if you have prospective team members who were unable to join today's webinar, but would like to listen to it asynchronously, you should be able to direct them to the PRCI website at Michigan State, and they can go listen to a recording of this conversation.
Yes, and I believe that, thanks for mentioning that, Chris. I believe Kelsey posted the PRCI website. Melissa, could you put that in the chat box one more time, so that people have that? And certainly by tomorrow, Melissa, that will be up online. Yeah. Oh,
and also on our social media.
great.
Great.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
thanks everyone for
there
joining.
is the PRCI site that just came into the chat box. All right.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Look forward to seeing your applications.
Take care. Oh, you know what? Suddenly, we'll just hang on for a second. There was one.
Oh.
Yeah, I just sent a quick reply.
A quick verbal written reply. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.